Carl and Lou here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's tier list ranking time. So we're doing a smaller, simpler one, but one still based in horror. Covering our beloved franchise, the first 3 movies in the franchise, the original of the Dead series, George A. Romero's zombie epics, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead, the originals only. And we are going to be ranking the human characters, the main human characters of these 3 movies. There are 20 in total, so I haven't included anyone, because I did initially, it was 21, because I included Karen Cooper, but technically, the only time she moves or does anything is when she's a zombie.
Oh, yes, I know.
So, but there's no Bub either from Day of the Dead, because he's a zombie. I wanted to stick exclusively to the human characters.
Yeah.
The majority come from Day of the Dead. Dawn, we have 4.
Of course, yeah.
We just have 4. I thought about including some of the bikers, but I was like, there's no character.
No.
I'd be including Tom Savini because it's Tom Savini's character. It's like, is he an actual character? No, he's not. No. So I stuck with the original 4, the main cast of Night of the Living Dead, and of course the predominant cast of Day of the Dead. Barring 1 or 2 soldiers that have background lot in that. I've used the main soldiers, but not the sort of background guys. There's a couple that are kind of like sergeant whatever, and I was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah.
The ones we've chosen, you will know if you've seen these movies as much as we have. They are excellent fucking movies. So we are going to be ranking them in the best. So the character that's just like, wow, you're an excellent character. I either loved you or I hated you, and you delivered on that. Let's be honest, you can probably off the top of your head think of 1 or 2 that are immediately going in that. I know who I'm putting in that.
Yeah.
Then we have standout. Easy to do a great role. Not quite the best, but you know, you remember them from all the right reasons. Memorable, that's that.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It's just, yeah, it's all right, it's memorable.
Yep.
You know, I'll recognise you. Forgettable, the opposite to that, which is, oh, you were in this.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And the worst, which is, that character sucks. Truth be told, I don't actually see anyone going in the worst.
No.
Because,
They're strong
you know,
films, isn't they?
exactly. Yeah. But we are kicking off then with one of the biggest, and it's Barbara. They're coming to get you, Barbara, Judith O'Dea's character. Now, it's weird when you talk about her, because there's always this thing now when you talk about Barbara from this movie, the original, compared to Barbara from the colour remake in the 90s. And the difference in the characters. The Barbara from the original spends a lot of the film frozen in fear and not really doing anything.
Yeah.
She is. Whereas the Barbara from the 90s movies was a bit more active, a bit more involved. She survives.
It's a spunky haircut.
Yeah, we'll call it that, yeah. This one doesn't even survive. This Barbara, the original Barbara, does not survive. However, she's an icon. She's an icon of horror.
Yeah.
She is. Her innocent face that looks great in this black and white imagery. Yeah. You know, she has some very good scenes. Obviously, the whole introduction to her. Her name is part of the iconic line. Yeah. You know? So that's got to be taken into account. But there is this thing where I'm a bit like, but she's annoying as hell.
Really annoying.
She is a bit like, oh no, Barbara died.
Memorable?
Oh, I mean,
I'd go for memorable.
I was going to say standout. Because it's still a standout character. Yeah. So important. So much of what happens, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
Just as a starting point, let's put her in standout. Because it is Barbara. Yeah. You know what I mean? Alright, Dr. Logan Frankenstein from Day of the Dead is next. So this is the scientist that is basically trying to domesticate zombies, prove that under immense pressure from Rhodes and his men, as it seems impossible. Obviously, his relationship with Bub is quite important. Yeah. His experiments, ultimately, his science is flawed as hell. Because ultimately, when you look at what he's trying to do, as Rhodes, I think, points out, it's like, well, how does that help us now? Yeah. So, you know, this doesn't help us now. It's a grand idea. It's something they would explore further in later films. But ultimately, he comes apart purely because he's feeding Bub the remains of Rhodes' men. Yeah. Which is a disaster waiting to happen.
I think he's got to be the best.
I love this character. Yeah. And one of the things I love about him is his self-assured confidence when he's talking to Rhodes in particular. The man has very little fear, but he also understands the danger with it. You would expect this character to be a mad scientist. Yeah, and he never comes across that way.
He doesn't help himself because he does look a bit dishevelled and like messy and a bit like if he had the hair, because he's one step away from having like the hair, like the cliche hair.
Absolutely.
Isn't he? But he's not an idiot. And when he goes sharp and he starts talking to him, like he knows what he's talking about, which I love. The fact they've not gone, oh, he's going to be some mental scientist that's kind of like off the rails already. It's like, no, he has ideas, but under the constraints of what they're going through, that's not going to work.
No.
So I think it's an amazing character.
I think it is as well. He's involved in some very important scenes, the development of Bubba, of course, and elements like that. But he's also, his death scene has sadness to it. It's very abrupt. He just gets taken out and he's dealt with. But it still feels quite important. Yeah, best.
Definitely. I'm going to have an argument on that one.
No, I'm a big fan of the character. Big fan of the character. Back to the Night of the Living Dead, it is Ben, of course, iconic. This is a role. We can talk at length, about the importance of putting a black man in a lead role at this time.
Yeah.
We know how important that was. And that's incredible. What's really cool about this guy is his background, in particular to do with theatre work and stuff like that. It's part of his self-assuredness that comes across on the screen. He has a level head. He's sensible, calm. Yeah. He controls. He leads. He's a leader. He's someone that you can get behind, which most of them do. We do see in the case of like Tom, for example. He gets behind him very quickly and stuff like that. That's a great fucking element. The character was pretty much the same in the 90s colour version. But Tony Todd obviously took on that role.
Yeah, of course, yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah, he did, yeah. This original Ben, though, I mean, he's someone you root for, isn't it?
Yeah.
You kind of want to, and obviously, spoilers, if you've never seen Night of the Living Dead, I don't know how you would, and obviously his death is so unceremonious as well. Yeah. It's really impactful.
Would you have him alongside Barbara?
No, I'd put him in the best.
Okay.
I'd put him in the best.
Category above.
Yeah, just because he exudes calmness. And the acting, the actor does a great job, but behind Dr. Logan, because, I don't know, Dr. Logan I don't know what it is about him. He's just, I always think when I think of him, I think of two specific scenes with Dr. Logan. Going back to that, I think of the scene where he arrives to the dinner hall, the mess hall, slightly late, and that's where you get that kind of confidence. And he keeps asking for dinner, he talks and he's like, is there going to be any food? And Rhodes loses his shit.
Yeah.
But apart, like I said, he's interacting with Bub and with the headphones.
Yeah.
And he runs the risk of potentially being bitten.
Yeah.
That's a great scene. Yeah. Francine from Dawn of the Dead.
Fran.
Not the best female character.
No.
In all of the three movies. I do think Dave might win that, but this is the most memorable for me. Francine, because it's such a small cast, everyone stands out. Immediately, Francine marks herself out as being different to Barbara.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, this is the first one to come after that, because she seems to be on the same level as her boyfriend, partner, Stephen.
Yeah.
She's working in a news station and stuff like that and all that. It's only when Peter and Roger come along that her role kind of diminishes to be a bit more of a housefrau, almost, that kind of thing. But then it brings it back quite nicely later in the movie when she demands to learn how to fly and stuff like that. These are aspects that are quite interesting about her. I really, really like her. I think there's some great scenes involving her. The scene where she's putting on all her makeup and all that stuff, and then she kind of realises how stupid is this.
Yeah.
She's the one that first kind of acknowledges the fact that as a group, they've locked themselves away and now they're just falling apart, barely want to be around each other. She says, like, it's the line out, what have we become, that kind of thing.
Kind of sounds like this argument of like, you need both sexes to kind of balance each other out. Mm-hmm. So sometimes what the males might not think of, as a female, she's thought of.
Yeah.
That kind of like idea of work well together.
Well, I love when like Stephen's initially not that hot on them teaching her to learn to fly, but she uses the argument of, well, like, if something happens to you, we ain't getting out of it, which is why Peter says, yeah, it's a good idea. But when they actually start learning to fly, Stephen, his joy when she lands the helicopter, that's the shit I love. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the stuff I love. So for me, the only thing I don't like is, like, for example, the image I'm using here is a good example of where she's not used well. When they all go off through the mall and she's just left upstairs and she's slowly walking around that blanket on, and then she gets chased by the zombie and doesn't, can't handle it, and tries to, all that stuff. Like, it's a bit like, oh, great.
That's what you're showing her.
Yeah, useless. Grab a weapon, grab something, grab a box and throw it at its head. Yeah. So I think stand out.
Yeah.
But I reckon above Barbara, which might be a bit sacrilege, but I think above.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, what we got next? You are... I've forgotten his name. I've got his name. Oh, it's Bill. It's right there above. It's Bill. I've written it above. I purposely named the picture so I wouldn't forget. Bill is one of the lesser characters of Day of the Dead, but still has an important role. He has... Well, he's a drinking problem. That much is made kind of clear. We can't see him drinking. But he is a kind of like backwards thing. He's the radio operator on that aspect of things there. But he kind of just has a background role alongside the other character, who we'll get to in a bit. And that's it. That's it, really. They live far down in the caves, the thing. They invite, what's her name, down to come and stay with them. But he's part of the group at the end that end up surviving this entire event. Yeah. What he comes across like throughout it is just very amicable. very nice to be around. He's a little bit sarcastic at times. It gets him in trouble with Rhodes a few times and some of the other men. But yeah, I think he's a decent character.
I think him and the other guy, they kind of embrace this situation.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Rhodes and the angry side of it, the hit up, angry side, and these guys, even like the house they live in, like the caravan, they converted into like this nice looking like
back
paradise.
back them trying to make it like paradise. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like could say it's like a little bit. They're not really in the situation they're in, but like they're. I'm trying to think of the words. Just getting on with things.
Yeah.
And that's how he comes across.
Trying to make the best of it, but you know he has a very glass half empty kind of speak though when he talks. Compared to his actions, he's very much matter of fact about a simple, like several times he talks about like, well, the last one's alive and this is it and stuff like that. But yeah, he's for me memorable.
Yeah, and the fact that he's the radio controller, he's got that connection. So the fact when it all goes wrong, he's a radio engineer, isn't he? So like, you would be the one that gets all these depressing messages and like you're the forefront of it. You're getting all these messages first and you're relaying it to everyone. Like
that's a layer you don't really think of. Yeah, I reckon memorable.
Yeah,
memorable.
Yeah.
Harry Cooper, the original Harry Cooper. Both movies, I will say, the 90s does an incredible version of this as well. But what I particularly like about this Harry Cooper is he's not as weaselly as the one in the 90s. I think they may overdo it in the 90s, whereas this one, when Harry's kind of called into action, he does get involved, including dropping the Molotovs out of the top window. Yeah. I think this character's incredible. Yeah. He's something you needed because you have this constant feeling as well about him that he don't like taking orders from a black man. Yeah. You know, you have that. Yeah. But when push comes to shove, he does listen because Ben is such a leader, hence why he's in the best. That even when he demands, he pushes Harry to do it. Harry's a coward. That's simply it. He's a coward, but he's also can't be faulted for wanting to protect his ill daughter and his wife. Yeah,
he's got that family element of like...
Like, you can't kind of forget that aspect. It's like, I can't fault the man because of that aspect. He sees the danger. He knows the danger. He's experienced the danger. And he's very, very worried for himself as much as anything else. He sees Ben as hot-headed and potentially putting them at risk. Ultimately, they were there safe. Yeah. Barbara brought them all the zombies to them. Yeah. So he's got that as well. He's a great character. Yeah. He really, really is a great character. I think he has a more satisfying death in the 90s than he does in the original, but it's still kind of like, it's impactful, and in fact that sequence is probably one of the more goriest parts of the original of a movie that isn't very gory. For me,
standout again?
Top of standout. Yeah. Okay, we might have one for the lower ranks here. No, not yet. No, it's John. It's John. The other part of the guys in the caravan at the back of the Day of the Dead area in the caves. He is the helicopter pilot, which does I love that because it actually results in a really cool thing where he's basically like, I'm not expendable. Yeah. He knows he's not expendable and he uses it to his advantage. Yeah. You know, Rhodes will eventually have his way by basically threatening the others and stuff like that. But he's got a strong Jamaican accent, so when he talks, you kind of listen a little bit more, particularly when we get this scene in it, because he's very relaxed. He's more relaxed than Bill. Yeah. But later when they're in the little paradise thing, he relays a story and talks about almost biblical sense about the end of the world and stuff like that, and that maybe, you know, it's time for us just to give this up. And he talks about the location they're in, which was a government building, and how everything's just gone to dust and dirt and just been left forgotten, and that they're exactly the same. It's a very impactful speech. It really is. I really like him.
I think he's a really good character.
But it is memorable still. I wouldn't put him above that.
No, I'd put him with Bill.
Yeah, above Bill. Yeah. Because I actually remember him more for his face-off with Rhodes. Yeah. Like with the gun and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I think it's unexpected for him. You're like, okay, yeah, he's not an idiot either.
No. So. Helen Cooper. This is the one where I think it might be lower. Helen is, of course, the wife of Harry. Yep. Doesn't have exactly a lot of lines. Spends most of it in the basement. Comes up to sort of see what's going on. But basically, he comes across just like an exhausted housewife who's worried about her daughter. That's it. You know, she gets the gory death in the movie. Yeah. Stabbed with the trowel. That's about it, really. Yeah, there's not really a lot to say about her. When I think of Helen from the remake, I can't really remember much about the remake either. Forgettable, yeah.
First one.
Yeah, I was kind of leaning towards it. Forgettable as well. Certainly not forgettable, although he's only in it for a short amount of time. Yeah. Johnny. This is Johnny, Barbara's brother. Yeah. Of course. Only time he appears is at the beginning of the movie. not counting the zombie Johnny that you will get later on. Of course, he's going to the graveyard with her and spends the opening teasing her. He is responsible for the iconic line, "They're coming to get you, Barbara."
Barbara, yeah.
His behaviour, his cheeky behaviour inside the graveyard is amusing. His banter and stuff like that. He is quite a character. He's a unique looking man. Ultimately as well, it's his tussle with the old zombie, the old man zombie, that results in the kicking off of the movie. He's iconic. Yeah. He is top of the best. Yeah. He delivers the line. Yeah. That has become an icon of horror. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
And I think even his conversation with his sister, like the opening bit between them
while they're slowly driving towards the thing, you kind of hear it clearly and stuff like that. Frustration about having to drive all the way to his grave to please their mother and stuff like that.
It's a really strong opening. Yeah.
It is. He's top of the best because of how well you remember him. Like, you can almost, you hear his voice. Yeah. And compare that to the 90s. I couldn't even tell you what the guy looks like in the 90s. Yeah. Judy. This is Tom's girlfriend. So Tom and Judy, they're the other people that are in the house. We'll get to Tom in a bit, but this is Judy, Tom's girlfriend. Of course, they both end up dying in the explosion in the car when they're trying to refuel and get away that way. She's quick. She's a little bit more active. She's probably the most active woman out of all the women that are in this house. Yeah. As she gets involved a bit more, but...
Yeah, no. Jumping out, I'm like, I can't remember much.
Nope, can't remember much. Forgettable again, innit?
Yeah, definitely.
Below, Helen? Yeah? Because Helen at least gets that death scene. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Miguel from Day of the Dead. A misunderstood character. One I actually feel very much... As a kid, when I watched Day of the Dead, I hated him. Because I found he was responsible of so much. Reckless, but also responsible to the ending and stuff like that. As an adult, I sympathise. Yeah. The man is suffering. Unbelievably suffering. Yeah. And good God, although we're not doing actors, we're doing characters, what a performance from the actor to deliver that as well. He is involved in so many incredible scenes, from the very start, the shouting out and calling into the zombies, to the simple parts where he's suffering under this depression and the weight of the anxiety and the problems he's having, being cooped up, that, when he slaps her, to the part where he has to get injected, the part he gets bitten and loses an arm because of it, to, of course, that incredible ending.
Oh, so good.
Incredible ending of his character. It's the best. Yeah. Like, nowadays, I think it's the best, right? Yeah, definitely. Like, he's so important to the story as well. Yeah. Question is, where do you put him?
He's got to be the best.
Yeah, but where in the best? So we have Johnny, we have Dr. Logan, and we have Ben.
Oh, that's really tough.
Let's put him in the best, but at the end. Yeah. Just because those three are super, super strong. Yep, he's in the best. I never thought we'd get there, but there we go. Peter Kenforey from Dawn of the Dead. Keenan's father, you want to say it. Roger Mockmore from Keenan and Kel. Done many, many movies. Yeah. He might be the glue that holds this movie together. Yeah. From his introduction as being a bit of a badass, masked up SWAT team, to his eventual sort of leader role that he takes on. He's also got a fun aspect to him. He's just someone you really, really end up liking a lot more. He's very level-headed, very straightforward thinking. He's the one that always comes up with the plan. Yeah. But it also seems incredibly dangerous, like he would be able to hurt you because of his size and his build and how quickly he can turn serious. We see that with I've forgotten his name. Why have I forgotten his name? Stephen, thank you. Just flew out my head there. When like Stephen risks his life. Oh, I'm shooting at him. He gets right in Stephen's face about it, and Stephen's kind of scared and stuff like that. These aspects. I have one complaint about his character, though. I really don't like what they do with him at the end, where they hint that he might commit suicide before
you don't want that
fighting back. And it's like, that's not the guy I fell in love with. No, you're a fighter to the end. Yeah. But it isn't a fucking incredible role. Yeah. So, the best, right? I think this is a best. I think it is. Yeah. I want to put him high as well, because he's what I always remembered as a kid, and this is what I remember now. I see that image there, and I can picture his lines, I can picture his scenes.
Yeah, straight away.
I love when they're fighting back against the gang at the end, and we follow him along and see like almost after so long his military training kicked back in.
Yeah, we knew what to do.
And he takes a lot of them. So I want to put him quite high. I want to put him above Dr. Logan.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, he's a proper good guy. Yeah. He is. He also delivers great lines. When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. Yeah. I mean, that's iconic again. Yeah. As soon as I added to this, I was like, well, there's the top of the best.
Yeah.
It is, of course, Captain Rhodes. It is Joe Pilato's iconic villainous role. The first time we got a real human villain that you wanted to fucking hate. And again, when I was younger, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
As I'm older, I just watch in fascination because I get it again. I'm watching this guy slowly losing control of his mind, from losing command and having no superior to answer to, but believing that military rules stick and sticking them up until the very, very end, but hating the fact that people are questioning his orders, wanting to rule with an iron fist. He is incredible.
Just the character's so layered. Like, so there's fear. Obviously, like I said, like the superiors have gone. That's all he's ever known is like the military, like how you structure yourselves. Just everything. So like he's angry at the situation. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't have no clue what to do about that situation. No one does. That's the problem. Like he was obviously wanted his superior to go do this.
Yeah.
And now he's like, fuck, I'm the one that's got to do this.
And I don't know what to do.
Yeah. And he's like, the people almost mocking him. He takes that as an ultimate, as a real dig, and so many layers.
He makes the point sometimes throughout that they're there to protect the scientist staff. But as he points out, my men are the ones that are dying.
Yeah.
And like you can't fault that argument. Yeah. I think of several iconic scenes of him when Bob picks the gun up and points at him. The fear in his face, the idea that these zombies, these things he revolts them. And this doctor is now showing him how to use a gun. Like that's incredible. Yeah. The part in the mess hall where he kind of just snaps and has enough, and we have that kind of tense, almost Mexican standoff with guns and things like that, where he's ordering them what to do. And of course, he has what is probably the most iconic death in all of George A. Romero's zombie films. Ugh. You know it, it's gory, it's bloody, but it's one of those where you're like, you kind of got what's coming to you, mate.
Well, it's even lampooned Shaun of the Dead, isn't it?
It is.
It's in the Moran, when he gets pulled out the pub window, he gets pulled in half, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, I think that lampoon's more the original Night of the Living Dead with Barbara being pulled out the window more than anything else. But the pulling apart thing, that kind of thing, he gets his iconic line of screaming choke on them and all that. It's the best. It's top of the best for me. He's literally someone I've grown to just adore, as a character. Roger. I loved Roger when I was a kid. I used to hurt my feelings so much when he gets bitten and obviously eventually transforms into a zombie. It still does now. However, now I've got a little less sympathy. Now I'm like, you fucking reckless idiot. Because that's what ultimately is undoing his reckless behaviour. What he is he's a SWAT team member alongside Peter, but he doesn't have the same self-assured and confidence. We see that because he's quite shaken when Peter saves him. Yeah. So automatically, when he's saved by Peter, he almost sees Peter as a father figure. He often follows around. He starts to follow him like a bit of a lapdog to a degree. Yeah. Like he's impressed by this. Exactly, he absolutely does. And that ends up hurting Stephen's feelings because it's Stephen and Roger who are the ones that actually have the relationship. Yeah. Peter doesn't actually know them originally or anything like that. He just comes along. But what Roger does is create a lot of lightness in the mood, particularly from his more energetic behaviour and so on. You can see the writing on the wall for his character. Yeah. I think it's one of the darkest points in the movie as we see his slow sort of descent into zombification, as we see him lose his skill of his motor functions, his accuracy, all these things. And obviously, it is very, very sad. But I think he's a great character again.
Standout?
Standout, top of standout. Yeah. Oh, above Harry?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah, alright, let's do it. Okay, what we got now? This is Robert. This is one of Rhodes's men. Rhodes has two main guys, and this is one of the two. This is the one who's kind of got a more cheeky behaviour to him, and he's certainly an underling because he bounces off the other guy, who we'll get to in a bit, more than anything else. He has got an obnoxious voice and an obnoxious laugh. Yeah. And we see that when he actually goes down, because he goes down laughing. Yeah. That kind of thing. But he also comes across like a little bit unhinged. Yeah.
Which I was like, probably happened whilst they were down there.
Yeah.
I think it takes any kind of like little nick in your armour and just being in that situation, that's it, you're done for.
There is a great scene later on though during the movie where Rhodes kind of has enough of them and threatens them as well, makes them go at ease as well, where they're told and ordered to shoot the scientist people. Yeah. That's a great fucking scene. Another example where they sort of sense comes back to them and the military training kicks in and it's like, this isn't right. Love that. Memorable?
Yeah.
or forgettable? Memorable, right?
Yeah.
Bottom of memorable, below the two nice characters from the movie.
Because there's a balance, isn't there? There's like, it's obviously it's not as black and white as that, but there is like the goodies and the baddies, isn't there?
Yeah.
So
the problem is with Rhodes' underlings, they always just come across like baddies.
Yeah.
Whereas Rhodes has got layers, the others don't, and this guy didn't. I think.
Yeah, I mean, part of the fact they're probably his support. Like I think without them two, I think Rhodes would have gone completely off the.
Yeah, maybe.
Because still need people to push around, and they were like, okay.
Well, we'll get to the other one. I think it's quite important because he's obviously part of the sort of makeup of this set of characters. But for now, we have Sarah, the lead of Day of the Dead. Of course, it's a woman in the lead role. Not unsurprising for George Romero. He always put women in massive roles in his movies. And Sarah is one of the stronger female roles that he created. It was obviously it was changing times, and George Romero was changing how he wrote characters as well. We saw it with Dawn of the Dead. Here we get a full-on thing. Sarah's a badass. She's tough. She's tough. She can give out. She talks back to Rhodes a hell of a lot. Yeah. There is one major flaw in a character though that I do not like. She is blind to Miguel. Like Miguel's problems, she recognises, but she still tries to treat him with kiddie gloves a lot of the time. And it's always kind of like they've had a relationship or have a relationship now, and even at the end, she's still kind of like, you know, like trying to protect him. Yeah. And it doesn't. It's a bit like, oh, we still got that aspect, still got the whole man thing. Could we not just be a strong woman without that? Yeah.
I think it's like it feels a little bit reversed. So, you know, you think, oh, a man's got to look after a woman because she's like too delicate to deal with a situation. But in this situation, Miguel's the one that needs a lot of help, and she's also kind of dealing with that. Plus, the other guys that want to bully her around. Okay. Or try to.
She's a strong character. I'm not disputing that.
No, I think they try to reverse the roles a bit because normally you get like, oh, knight in shining armour, and the woman's the frail one that can't deal with a situation, has a bit of a breakdown and whatever. Okay. And in this one, she's the one that's trying to be strong for him, and I think she hasn't got any other help. So I feel like sometimes that's the only way she feels like she can deal with him. Okay. So yeah, I like that element.
Where would you put her though?
I think standout for me.
I think standout's fair. I think standout's fair. The question is, so we have Barbara and Fran in the lower part of that. Does she go higher than them?
I'd put her higher than both of the other women.
What about higher than Harry? Maybe.
Ooh, yeah.
There you go. After Roger. Yeah?
Yeah.
After Roger. Stephen. The last character of Dawn of the Dead. This is Stephen Flyboy, who has more layers than most of the characters in it, because he has to portray I'm a dominant man and I have to look after Fran, and that's my role, that kind of thing, to then having his sort of strength position usurped and humiliated and embarrassed by the arrival of Peter, and then seeing his friend Roger buddy up to him rather than stick with him, to eventually Stephen's kind of like relaxation of his behaviour and then being proud of how Fran goes along and stuff like that. Obviously, the pregnancy leads to some complications in a relationship, to his eventually teaming up with Peter after Roger dies and then becoming a sort of pairing. To, you know, but he also makes a ton of mistakes. He's the one that shoots first at the bikers, causing the all-out carnage, whereas, you know, Peter was very much let them come, take what they want, they'll leave. Hide and stay away.
Just ignore him,
you know, and stuff like that. That is Stephen's problem. Of course, he does obviously get killed and turn into a zombie and become one of the more iconic zombies of the series. He's a character with layers. Yeah. But he's not the most likable, regardless of those layers.
Memorable?
Oh, he's more than that, because he's a standout character. He is.
Memorable then.
All those four from the original. All right, okay, I'll go with that. All those four from the original Dawn of the Dead are standout, like strong characters. But top and memorable, I'm happy with. Okay, do you remember this guy? This is Ted from Day of the Dead. He is Dr. Frankenstein, Dr. Logan's assistant. Has a few lines, tends to stand in the background, and he's the one that's basically sacrificed. But when he's killed by Rhodes when he wants to prove a point to force the helicopter pilot to take them away. Not a lot to this guy. No? Not
much at all, really. Forgettable?
Yeah, pretty much. Top though, because I remember him.
I remember his face
more because I guess maybe the location. Yeah,
and
top or forgettable.
As well,
yeah. Two left. Tom. Love this character. Always have. Loved Bill Moseley's version in the 90s as well. I love Tom because he has no qualms. He sees Ben straight away as someone who gets it and wants to pitch in, and doesn't just I'll help you. pitches in. He's the one that comes up with an idea about going to get the car and driving away. He's the one that goes out and does this. He is a man of action.
Yep.
And he has instant rapport with Ben. He's a very memorable character.
Yeah.
But that's it, though. There's the problem. Memorable is where it ends.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah, I think so.
But top of memorable.
Yeah.
No, after Stephen, actually. Yeah, because Stephen's thing. And last but not least, Day of the Dead, we have Walter. This is the other underling of Rhodes.
The older one.
The older one, the more memorable one. He's the one that Rhodes orders to shoot Sarah after she won't sit down. And he's the one who like, so the picture I've used is him, he jokingly goes bang bang, and Rhodes then pulls his gun on him.
Yep. To kind of
and he's like, and you see his military sense come about, and he's like, this ain't a joke anymore. What's going on? You know, that kind of thing. This ain't funny. He's an arsehole.
Yeah.
He's an arsehole, but he gets betrayed by Rhodes. He also ends up getting the death that he deserves as well. But I really remember this character, and I liked him. You know?
Yeah, because you have to kind of. Yeah, I do really like his character. And the sailor's like Heckle and Jekyll, like jackals almost with Rhodes when they're going out and about and stuff. And just I think it's just it helps to kind of base yourself how long they've been there as well, with how like, oh yeah, let one in when they're doing that trapping a zombie.
Oh yeah.
And how sort of nonchalant, like it's just like stamping an envelope and sending some posts, things like part of their job. They're like, yeah. Oh, we've got to deal with these dickheads again, kind of thing. So I like that.
But also bear in mind they're only doing that because they have to provide the samples to Dr. Logan. So again, they're putting themselves at risk there. Yeah. His death, as I sort of touched upon there, you know, he gets trapped in the room that Bub is, then ends up committing suicide, which is an unfortunate death way to go for him too. I think memorable.
Yeah, next to
above Tom.
Above Tom.
Behind Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said it at the start. There was never going to be anything that was in the worst. Yeah. When you've got 20 human characters to come from, it's like, there's nothing. The best you'd have to start doing it kayfabe wise.
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, Rhodes isn't the worst because he's a dickhead. He's a horrible man, and you do it that way instead of no. I just really want to enjoy the character from a viewing perspective. But I see no problem with the best. We have Rhodes, we have Johnny, we have Peter, we have Dr. Logan, we have Ben, and we have Miguel.
Yeah.
I think if there's a surprise there, it's us putting Miguel there. But I hope we explain ourselves quite succinctly as to why they're there. Is it a shame that none of the women reached the best?
Yeah.
I mean,
think so.
It is a bit, but then it's no real knockout because like the best and the standout, we're saying the standout characters. That's why we have Roger. That's why we have all these other characters in this section. It's just these are the ones that these for us. Yeah, it really is as simple as that. You know, it's only 3 that ended up forgettable either, and I think they fit exactly where they are. What do you reckon? You got any thoughts on our list? You know what to do. Drop them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?